Gotta wet the whistle.
Whistle.
All right. Good day, race fans, and welcome to the Intentional Wreck podcast made by race fans for race fans, from the casuals to the lifelong gearheads. My name is Jeff, and I'm here with my fellow hosts Corey and Finn, and you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and iHeartRadio under the name Intentional Wreck. You can also find us on Twitter under the handle at intwreckpod. That's at INTWRECKPOD. Oh wow! It has it's been a little while.
What year is it?
Yeah, I feel like I've forgotten how to do a podcast now. It's
like COVID hit.
Reminds
me back when COVID hit. We were all like, we see each other again.
Humans, how do I do this? What do I do? So it's an odd feeling coming back on this one, but it's good to be back and good to be talking with y'all again, and kind of going over some racing. I know it's been this past Sunday was interesting, not having NASCAR there, but Indy put on a good show at Road America. I'm going to shock the world here when I tell you that in Montreal,
oh boy,
Max Verstappen,
did he win?
First, and then led the race
to the end.
And there it is,
wire to wire. Exciting.
Just
how
result in the world of Formula One.
How do they keep their fans in their seats, Jeff? How do these people not rise up and enjoy this amazingly exciting race that was led by the same guy from the start to the finish? I just don't understand.
Leads regularly.
Boy.
I was saying to Corey earlier when we were talking about it, and one of the things I had mentioned, I said, NASCAR fans and IndyCar fans should stand on a united front to make fun of the insane lack of parity in Formula One. I mean, God, I watch it, I enjoy it. It's something else to add on to on a Sunday morning viewing. Like it's cool enough. But this season, I swear, it's like just hand the crown to Verstappen and then just let everybody rebuild the cars and start the whole damn thing over, for the love of God.
It's so boring. I mean, and it was eclipsed maybe a bit for me by, once again, an extremely boring Sonoma race. I'm sorry. I don't get it with this course, man.
Well,
like I don't get it.
Not all tracks are built for. I mean, that's road courses, right? And I think one of the reasons we're there is because we've always been there. I've said it before. I feel like we're heavily not racing at the optimal time. It's not a very pretty track. I feel like if we even did it in the spring and there were some showers, that would induce like some really good racing.
In the rain, that would be sick. It would be awesome.
Great for Laguna Seca.
It's just a track that doesn't put itself in positions where there's a lot of areas to pass, right? So you have to, like, all of the track is setting somebody up. I went and watched a couple old Sonoma races back when we were at way higher horsepower. Man, those things were rocking, man. I really feel like this would be a... what's funny is we said there weren't going to be any Kai interruptions, and the first thing she does...
Whoa!
Yeah.
A baby Kai interruption. Yeah. No one saw that coming. Cameo for baby Kai.
It was just the higher horsepower. I mean, it feels like there was a little bit more control in some of the turns, whereas now some of the turns are a little bit more monotonous. And then remember, like, this isn't a track that's got the runoffs like Coda has. Yeah. So I've actually heard that NASCAR's looking at Montreal. Apparently, Bristol Dirt has not been renewed. We don't know if that means it's going to stay Bristol asphalt or are we going to get a new race to do. And there's also the fact that there's this race, Chicago Street Course, coming up, and that might be a week that consistently tries out new tracks. And now Garage 56 had this insane performance, and now NASCAR is kind of really popping off at this like massive market. So maybe it's worth exploring some more international feels for that. So I'm with you, but I will say this: MTJ is locked in. This is the Truex we're used to seeing. We didn't see him last year. You didn't really get a chance to see him. This is the MTJ you're used to. Dominates the short tracks, available and quick at most of the other tracks. And then there's a Dover, Sonoma. He's got 4+ wins at each of those, I believe. Really good at his good tracks. And a confident Martin Truex Jr. is a Final Four driver.
He looked
Consistently.
effortless.
Yeah.
Effortless at Sonoma.
Yeah.
This felt like a severe resurgence. It's like you said, it's kind of we're witnessing the Truex that we have been waiting to see since probably the beginning of last year. I mean, this is what we had expected, and he's really just kind of unleashed. And there were a lot of points during that Sonoma race where, you know, you're just kind of watching him gain, watching him get up, watching him get there, and then it became a waiting game. Because you're just you're like, at some point he's gonna get it. He's got the fastest car on the track.
Right.
He's moving past anybody basically effortlessly. It was just a matter of time. By the time you got to those last, I don't know, like 20 laps or so, you just knew he was gonna make his way up to the front. It was just a matter of when.
Right. That being said, none of the other Toyotas have got this shit figured out. What happened to Denny? I admit that this was a race that I didn't get a chance to really watch. I was moving, obviously.
Yeah.
Anybody that's watched the pod knows this is a different location than normal. So I was really busy just moving. So I didn't get a whole chance to kind of keep this one. It was more of those, like, it's on while we're boxing and moving things. So, but I did see Denny going from not fine to not fine. Was it just turn 12? He just lose it?
Don't text and drive.
So,
I don't know what that was.
That was weird, odd to see, and I don't know. It wasn't a situation like it's been in certain circumstances where in the past where I'm, just like pounding the table, like what the hell's going on.
Right.
It just kind of lost it and it wasn't there. But I mean, to that same point, he wasn't. I mean, yeah, he ran okay in the start of the race, but I didn't have any high expectations that this was going to be another, Denny showcasing at Sonoma somewhere or anything like that, because I mean, he has won there before, but I didn't see this being a large one for him.
Well, and
I expected other.
I think his day was pretty much over before the wreck anyway, because he got mired back in traffic, and it was
right.
I mean, if you're sitting in 10th and you don't catch a lucky caution on this track, there's no coming back. Like there's no passing. You have to like get the guys who were able to pass a couple of cars. Sometimes we'll see on an oval, they'll do a restart, and guys, we've seen Larson pass 10, 12, 14 guys on a single restart. And I think the biggest number I saw of passes between restarts was like 6 or something like that, like 5 or 6. I mean, there were 10 lead changes and 6 different leaders the entire race.
Yeah.
Like that's actually, well, yeah, six drivers. So it was just kind of I don't know. This one's just a dud for me. And I think it probably will be every year. This one is not what got me interested.
Right.
And I think it will continue to kind of be that week. And I really, I mean, the fact that it comes before a bye week as well, it's like, okay, well, Corey can pretty much take 2 weeks off from NASCAR watching because I do not care about Sonoma. It was cool to see MTJ get another win. The guys, I'd give anything to be at the stage of his career that he's having at his age. I mean, you got to hand it to the guy.
Let's also throw in the fact that Diablo 4 came out recently, so Corey hasn't really paid much of attention to anything in existence aside from slaying demons and spending time in hell for the last like 3 weeks of his life. It's
5,000 demons have died.
Nothing else has mattered in Corey land for a while since Diablo 4 dropped. So
yeah, well, that's true. Finn, did you see the tire on pit road?
I did see the tire off pit road. I did see that it's an enclosed pit road. So is the question, was it a caution that I don't remember where in the race was it? Was this a caution that really messed up and jumbled up the order of things, or are we just talking?
I don't think so. I think the controversy was more related to the fact that the tire really had no impact itself on the safety of the race, right?
Yeah.
Like it didn't interfere with the race at all, but it was loose equipment. So I think the question really is, when you have an enclosed pit road and you have some loose equipment, is the loose equipment in and of itself in isolation enough to bring that caution out? And in this instance, NASCAR thought it was.
Right.
I don't know enough about it. I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
I've got 2 points to that because there's something to bring up with that. Like, for one, on a road course, it's obviously a little different, right? Like, something can happen. The entire pack gets by. and you're far enough away that hopefully if there's an official nearby, you can kind of get eyeballs on something and figure it out. I think that's another factor that comes into play, right? Is if nobody's that close, that it may take a little longer to get over and inspect what's going on. And that may be a reason to throw the flag just to make that determination on what's going on. So that, and the other thing that I wanted to bring up there too is, and I think this could play into some of the controversy, is that, this also happens on road courses as well, is that cars will spin out. And this happened in Sonoma, as a car will spin out or end up out, not on the track, and a caution won't get thrown because it's just out of field of play. It's just not in the way of something, and there's no, spilled fluid or anything out there that could possibly cause a risk. So it's kind of a different animal when you're looking at such a long track and, different circumstances like that. What did you think, Finn?
Well, I think this is a good place to showcase the differences in the racing. We started this podcast talking about F1, but if you guys watched, the 24-hour Le Mans this weekend, they deployed sections of the track where it's a slow section as a result of a crash occurring, because you can't just be doing full course cautions forever on those kinds of tracks. So it'll be a situation where it's determined a section where you have to stop and you can go no further than 80 kilometers. Well, I don't know what that is for miles an hour, but we were in France, so when in Rome, 80 kilometers. And,
Rome is in France.
Well, when you're in France, like when in Rome, you do as the Romans. I was saying, like when in France, we'll do what kilometers. I don't know. I don't give a shit. All right.
Americans would do anything to avoid the metric system.
Like, Jesus, even misrepresent where Rome is, but no, they slow down for a section and then they can go green. But there's a lot of things that that different NASCAR doesn't do. Sections of the course cautions, it's either full course caution or no caution. I think the important thing to remember is that strategy, and there's so many things that can occur. For example, if my driver is during the back section of the course, right, where maybe the last 3 or 4 turns of a track as we approach the start finish line and most importantly pit road, and my crew chief gets wind that, hey, a caution might be coming out right now, there might be something, maybe talk of debris, talk of and this is unique to road courses because you can't do this in ovals because the lap times are so quick. You might hear a situation where, the idea that a caution might come out, you'll bring people down pit lane, and and they'll try to take advantage of that. I don't know if people necessarily like that or not, but there's so now this tire and the uncertainty of NASCAR is allowing people to pit, and then they don't go a lap down, and then caution comes out, everybody pits, and then this person gets to go to be first place when they were in 28th.
Right.
Thinking back to Kyle Busch at COTA when he just took a pit stop for the hell of it, and then a caution came out after that. That wasn't like Kyle Busch gaming the system. That was just him taking a caution, getting
pure luck.
But I would say I'd like to avoid to an extent situations like that. If you make a judgment call like, oh, it's getting risky out here, we're gonna pit and see like Kyle did, I respect that. But like trying to get a cheap one in there, like, oh, they're wrecking. Just say it's the same way I feel about the pitting right before the old stage breaks at road courses, and I felt like that was gimmicky way to get yourself up front versus kind of earning your way through racing. So there's that.
They got that right, by the way, this year. In my opinion, they have got that completely right.
Yeah, even with
removing
race,
those stage cautions.
even with a boring race, it's important, and I think it's going to pay off dividends, especially when we get to like the Indy road course. I'm really excited for that one, not just because Kobayashi is going to be driving it, but Kamui is going to be driving for Project 90 or for 23XI. That's another talking point, but he's one of my favorite WeatherTech guys. But anyways, back to my point is just I just think that with that caution, another thing too is how far are we willing to let the tire go? If the tire pops out and they can go grab it, cool. But when we're talking about safety crew of NASCAR being deployed, they're always going to call a caution. If somebody from NASCAR has to hop in a car, down even to go pit lane and get a tire, they've got to call that. We are just one bad situation where a car wrecks into the inside pit wall and then flips over, hits. There's so many things that could occur. The more that we can limit people on the track with cars going 120, 130 miles an hour, the better. Not to mention on road course races, again, so ovals, things are happening very quick, but there's one spotter in the driver's ear. There's one. On road courses, I don't know if it's all of them, but I'm pretty sure on all of them, you have multiple spotters for different sectors of the track. So depending on where something enters the track or car on it, there's a lot of there's potential dead zones where a spotter can see nothing. Now imagine a situation where a NASCAR personnel or official or a crew member is going to retrieve a tire. We stay green in the interest of keeping the rate. It's a minimal threat. And then a driver doesn't hear from his, like the spotter changeover hasn't occurred yet. And the other spotter didn't see it. Or the first spotter saw it, but he didn't say it because the other guy's on camera and he assumed the other spotter saw it. And then we have a guy getting hit by a car at 100 miles an hour, right?
That's true.
Be really bad. So I always err in the sense of caution if possible. And I think that has to be consistent even to the end of the race. I know that makes it feel like you can call gimmicky cautions. But it takes, one tire almost obliterated. It would have been at least 5 to 6 people at that Indy race.
Oh,
These things are extremely dangerous.
And you stack that, I think, on top of, I agree with you on an abundance of caution, right? To coin a phrase there, but they only had 2 cautions the entire race.
Right.
And one of them was a tire, and one of them was Denny closing his eyes and taking his hands off the wheel, right?
Yeah.
So, they had no other cautions at any point. Ryan Blaney was an absolute bowling ball at the end of this race. My man was all over the place, including way off the track, and they still weren't throwing any cautions.
They won't call it unless debris on the track or unless the car can't refire, right?
But you take that tire out and you take Denny's goof out. This is a caution-free race, beginning to end,
right?
And NASCAR does not want that. They don't want that. They don't want caution-free the whole way.
Right.
So I'm not saying that had anything to do with it, but that is something to consider, right? Because there was no other cautions to really speak of. So the fact that they got that one and then the Denny one probably worked out.
A parallel
well.
I'll drag to is everybody wants the shootout, but as long as the points are being scored by both teams, like the national championship with Georgia just absolutely wrecking TCU, you don't want... No, it's okay. It's okay that happened. This is the best of the best. And if the best showed up on his best day and everybody else didn't come, all right, cool. Or if the track isn't hard to drive and they're not pushing, then, NASCAR needs to ask itself, is the issue not cautions or is the issue that the cars are too easy to drive?
Yeah.
Because it seems like everybody except Denny Hamlin knew what they were doing out there. God, that's so fun to say. God.
It was, man. I go back and watch that video.
My second favorite part.
It made no sense.
My second favorite part of the race is Chase Briscoe spinning Ryan Blaney, and I'm just knowing Jeff's mad and Corey hates it.
Bro, Briscoe drove right through that.
Yeah, he
was not even there.
Well, they didn't take tires, didn't they? Right?
Didn't even lift.
Kyle Busch not take tires either. Kyle Busch took tires and had something for him, but couldn't catch him. Blaney and I guess somebody else didn't take tires.
Elliott, I think.
Oh, really?
Another big name. And then Blaney
Elliott
got to the front, and Briscoe absolutely punted him.
That's funny. Speaking of Briscoe, new crew chief. They're bringing back his crew chief from the Xfinity Series, where he won 9 races. He won 6 with him, 3 with Zipadelli, which is Tony Stewart's old crew chief. But that's cool. And then, of course, the big announcement. Well, I guess it's not official, but it's all set in stone at this point. They're expecting to make the announcement this week. Is Josh Berry to the fore? I'm really curious. It's such a weird career arc. So just to fill you in on Josh Berry, my understanding is Josh Berry is like a late model driver, known as being like a short track guru, like short track god. Worked his way through the other series. He also met Dale Jr. on iRacing, if I'm not mistaken, and he has like an iRacing win in like a high iRacing league. Like that's where he started racing, was like that. So like real grassroots, working his way up the ladder of racing. Became really good friends with Dale Jr. They really wanted to put him in that 8 car or just in a JRM car, but they were having struggles with sponsorship, and then it seems like it's just tunneled. He gets a couple rides. He ends up winning a short track race on a limited schedule. Then he gets a full-time ride in JRM for 2 seasons, this being his second now. And he's got some wins, but you think about last year, it was in the Noah Ty Gibbs show, right? And the year before was like Austin Cindric's and Chase Briscoe and like that era. I guess maybe the year before wasn't. Maybe Chase was already in Cup, but like that was the vibe. So I never really got this idea that Josh Berry was like this heavyweight contender, and he's a hit on the older side. But it looks like those rides in JRM got him, or in Hendrick filling in for Bowman and Elliott. Looks like that did enough to convince SHR to put him in the seat. You got to think
switching from Chevy to Ford.
So again, Chevy loses another potential star. Tyler Reddick left last year. They're losing both Eric Jones and Noah Gragson. Now they're going to lose Josh Berry. So what does that leave us with? Priest, Briscoe, and is SHR just short track Haas racing? You're just gathering the you're just gathering the infinity stones of local short track heroes,
bro. You
got the Dirt God and Briscoe.
I was gonna say you take Bristol Dirt out, they might not get another win next year.
Priest was dominating Martinsville. Like we haven't even seen him remotely in the top 10, and if they didn't mess up, what was it, a pit stop or something? Yeah. Oh, they sped. That's what it was.
Yes,
he'd be in the playoffs. You're adding in Barry. Almirola is, I feel like, the odd man out. I feel like we're expecting him to go, but I mean that's a lot of.
It's gonna be an interesting squad next year. As the resident Stewart Haas guy, there is no change too big, no change too small, as long as they're changing something, because it ain't working this year. So it's sad to see Harvick go. I'm cool with Barry. I mean, like, he seems like a good dude. I don't really have enough to judge him on as like a driver, I guess. But anytime that Ford can get a guy from Chevy that maybe Chevy wants, I'm totally cool with that. He seems like he's going to be a good teammate for my guy Briscoe. Thank God they're doing something with that 14 team. Thank God, because it has been abysmal to watch this year.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
bad.
I don't know if it's a confidence move. I don't know if it's just to throwing things at a wall. One of the big issues like Alex Bowman had was like it just seemed like Greg Ives could not get the setup right for these cars, and maybe that's something that they're wanting to see with this crew chief, is he knows exactly how Chase Briscoe wants to drive the car. But I don't know if the issue right now is the setup with Stewart Haas. I think it's just the Ford aero package not doing anybody favors. Add in just a really rough year for that team. We've seen it. I mean, you haven't, but like 2018-ish, 2017, 18, like Hendrick sucked. You think like this is what Hendrick was in like 2018, 2017, 18. Like sometimes the manufacturers do not get it figured out, and I don't think it's Ford's fault. They're not. It's not their fault their aero package got changed at the last second, but it's been brutal. And the only person that seems to have any speed right now is Ryan Blaney. After that Coke 600 win. Actually, Buescher probably deserves a little bit of credit, but what do you? I'm definitely concerned with Josh Berry because again, the big thing was a struggle to find sponsorship. I wonder if that's changed. I'm very curious to if they're going to announce who's going to be a primary sponsor. If they're going to have to do like a litany of sponsors, looking like Kyle Busch out here driving a new sponsor every week. I hope Anheuser-Busch stays with them. I really think, they're dropping. I don't know if you saw that really cool Bud Light Peach scheme that they're going to be dropping for Kevin Harvick. They got that. They've always got good stuff. They could do like a raspberry beer.
I was going to say they should do like
berry.
They should lean into the berry thing and do like Smuckers or something like that.
Let's get Knott's Berry Farm in on as a sponsor,
But
lean into the berry thing.
I think he's a talented driver. We saw a little bit of brilliance in the whole when he was doing the All-Star Open, where he was in 5th while they were all in 4th gear, and it allowed him to save tire and win the All-Star Open pretty confidently. I don't know where the hell that went in the All-Star race, but the Open he won. So that was the Larson show.
Yes, it was.
But I'm happy with it. I think I'm not expecting any dividends, but I think Stewart Haas is going, all right, we'll scrap it. You know how Leo Commander's motto, right? Maybe next year.
Bro, I cannot escape this idea that when I show up as a fan, the team that I'm rooting for just collapses, dude. Like, I don't know. I can't help but relate SHR to my Washington sports fandom in some kind of way. But
except your NASCAR Fantasy Live team.
That's true.
Should we let
That's
him do
true.
his? I'm interested about
Hold
your
on,
bullet
hold
point
on.
about the new
I wanna-
NASCAR
I-
game.
Yes, that's Jeff. Jeff's what's going on with that, Jeff? Because
Yeah.
you said that, I'm like, okay, now I gotta know.
Well, right. So there is a NASCAR Arcade Rush was announced. And so we have a new arcade style NASCAR game coming out. It's made by the same company that has made a few. It's Game Mill Entertainment. They've made a few other arcade style racing games. They did like a arcade NHRA game. They've done a couple other they did like a Nickelodeon Kart Racers, and like they've just done a couple other like animated, more goofy style games. But the whole idea is it's probably supposed to be more of a trip back to some of the old Wii NASCAR games, which a lot of were actually really cool. A lot of people have said Inside Line is one of their faves, or NASCAR kart racing was a lot of fun. You know, those games were pretty highly regarded, you know, all things considered. I mean, you didn't expect high quality racing sims
Right.
on your Nintendo Wii, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it can still be a fun game. I mean, and you know, then maybe this will at least give you something to play while you wait for you know, some kind of a reasonably decent NASCAR sim to come out.
Yeah.
So we're while we wait to figure out what the hell goes on with motorsports games and all this other business there, at least this is something to pass the time. It's something that could be fun. There's a career mode. There's some time attack. You get to pick between, I think it's all the 75 years of racing. You can pick, you know, all kinds of goofy different paint schemes and car styles, and they'll have arcade tracks and all kinds of fun stuff. So honestly, you know, I think it'll be cool. I don't know if I'm going to pick it up right off the break for $50, but it's definitely something that I'll keep an eye out for and see if maybe there's a sale. I'll probably snag it when it hits that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I'm seeing this is a $50 game. But I will say
that definitely looks like some Xbox arcade stuff right there, though. You're not wrong.
Right. But what I will say is this is and I'll put the link in the description for what we're looking at here. There's just a couple cool screenshots. I mean, I do think that those are some pretty cool looking. Matter of fact, let me see if I can't pull this up here on. Look at some.
Pretty much anytime you put NASCAR on a video game, and I'm gonna at least try it out.
Well, for me, as the father of, and also Happy Father's Day to you, Corey. Belated, I hate to say it, but and Jeff, you're a cat daddy. We give you that. Happy Father's Day. Your cats yell more than my 5-year-old, so we'll give that to you.
They are quite loud. I'm surprised we haven't heard one of my cats who's been sitting outside my office door now for a while trying to gain my attention. So
I do think the maps look cool. The tracks look cool. Obviously, yeah, you're not exactly looking at this as some kind of iRacing sim. Though you'll probably see more wrecks in an iRacing lobby than in this one, if I'm honest with you. But I mean, it looks cool. It's a way to introduce maybe NASCAR to my 5-year-old in a way that isn't going to be. I mean, she liked Forza and she was awful at that. Didn't know what she was doing. But this is a way to kind of play. Martinsville looks really cool. So I mean, I don't hate it. I think one of the big things that NASCAR hurts itself is not marketing to the younger crowd and getting into those things, and it seems like they're kind of hearing that. So having a small game like this, cool. And then
it's fun.
Figure out the big stuff. Get people's interest in gaming, because you're never going to build a racing sim that races good on a controller. Right? And we already have a good racing sim. If you want racing sim, it's simple. You just need to go to iRacing. But if you
just need a lot of money
with your $1,000,
right? And you can't really do a NASCAR Ultimate Team. That's not going to do its thing. So I think that finding that middle ground of, I think the biggest thing is finding a control set that works, and they can test that in arcade. They can do those things in arcade type modes, and then they can go, all right, cool, let's apply this to a skinned game that's realistic fun, and then you just make an intuitive career mode where you feel like you have to make decisions, you feel like you've got to do things. I mean, if only they had made this series 15 years ago, that was perfect, and you just reskin that.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, but they can't do that. EA doesn't have it anymore, and EA would kill it now. So, but that's pretty cool. I didn't know about that, so thanks for sharing.
Me neither.
I'll get it for me. There was
I found out through another NASCAR content creator that I follow, Taylor Kitchen from Above the Yellow Line. It's good stuff. She put out a small video about the whole thing, and that was what caught my eye and figured it would be something to throw out on the pod, because we brought this up God, it's probably been about
we
a
just want
month
to do a
now
game,
about
yeah.
NASCAR games. But either way, it's fun. I can't wait for comment sections to come out and be like, this is completely unrealistic. I can't play this shit. So, you know.
No
Play with your
kidding. You
5-year-old, dude.
don't say.
You'll play
Yeah.
you'll play Rocket League, but you won't play Hot Wheels NASCAR.
Exactly.
Like, relax.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, just cool it. All right. Just
Yeah.
cool it.
Settle down
Um,
there, Tiger.
Yeah, so that's going to be fun. I think that's going to be a good time. Speaking of our next segment here, Corey finally got back to victory lane. It's been a little while since he spent a good time just completely trashing us and acting like we were bad, and then went on a solid month and a half slump. So
I did.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and take the floor, sir?
All right, so this one's going to get a little bit off the rails, I'm afraid, so I'm going to try to keep it concise. Me and Jeff are in a text chain with about 6 or 8 of our friends that we have known for years and years, and we just talk about sports all day. Okay, so Finn, 2 of the guys who I'm about to bring up here, my guy Josh Young and Jack Stone, who is our co-host Jeff's cousin. In their way, Jack is a newer NASCAR fan even than me, and Josh is not a NASCAR fan at all. He just loves stirring the pot, right? Like that's what he does. We get into an argument today, and it all started with Jack taking a shot at Jeff. Jack is a Byron fan, and Jack took a shot at Jeff. I'm going to do my very best to be unbiased here and give you the straight dope, and I want to get your thoughts on this. I'm going to try to not misrepresent anyone, Josh.
Okay.
All right, so Jack took a shot at Jeff, basically calling JGR a mediocre race team. Okay. To which led a debate regarding, is there a disparity in importance between wins, right? Because JGR has more total wins in NASCAR than Hendrick, including Cup, Xfinity, and trucks, right? But Hendrick has more wins in Cup. Okay, kind of by a large margin, if I'm not mistaken, right? In Cup. But JGR is the winningest team in NASCAR. So, me and Jeff, I believe I can speak for you here, Jeff, that we were on the side of effectively wins are wins, right? Like, to me, wins are wins. That's how the teams view it, I would think, right? They want to win everything. They want to win all the time. They don't give a crap if they're racing go-karts, right? Whereas Josh and Jack kind of took the side of Cup is the highest series, and clearly those wins are the most important, more important, however it is exactly that they put it. So what do you think about that? What is your first blush thought, since we didn't text you in the middle of the
Right,
day?
you didn't get me in on it. All right,
No.
so I would say teams, in a way, maybe not straight up, teams in NASCAR would rather have a 6-win season than a championship. If you are racing every year and you're getting 6 to 7 wins a year, if you can get 6, 7 wins a year, you view that more positively than getting a, like, and I don't mean, I know people are like, oh, but no, like because of that last race thing more recently, people seem to not care a whole lot about the champions. You think about who we felt should have been the champion last year. We should, I felt the last time, like, legitimately the best driver of the year won the championship was just Larson in 21, right? Okay. I mean, Elliott won his championship.
I was going to say, there's a discussion for Elliott.
Elliott won this championship in a year that Harvick won every damn race. Harvick and Denny were like the cream of the crop. But Elliott got into the final race, and for what it's worth, it was an epic drive. Started in the rear, got always to the front. But my point is we're talking about NASCAR as a whole and historically. So historically, championships are going to be more important. But obviously,
in the Cup Series, Cup Series championships,
right? I would
say
that
was kind of the crux, was the difference between the Cup Series versus total team effort, including all 3 series.
For sure. So one of the things I'll say is I don't think that this is a JG, when it comes to all of these wins that we're talking about between Hendrick and JGR, I don't even think it's a Hendrick thing or a JGR thing. I think this is just a Kyle Busch thing. Kyle Busch is the reason that they've got so many wins. And I don't know if his Truck Series wins count as JGR wins in this case.
No idea.
he was an
They
active
would have
JGR.
been KBM, I would presume.
Right, and I don't know where.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like for the most part,
Xfinity is the difference for
right.
JGR in that case.
Right, and Kyle like has won an absurd amount of. I mean, a quick Google search, will tell us exactly. I mean, I would wager, was it over 100?
I mean,
Wouldn't
they have
surprise
an absurd amount of wins.
102 Xfinity Series wins.
That is wild.
Yeah, and then he has 63 wins in Truck, 63 wins in Cup. Right?
Yeah.
Kyle Busch.
So what I'm seeing there is he's calling for Xfinity.
He is now. He is now.
Yes,
This
because
year
that's
he is.
Chevy.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's
That's
Chevy now.
okay. That was meant for that. Yeah.
So, and again, I don't know, but another thing I want to add in is the way that the teams all of the teams view Xfinity, which has had many different names over the years. So Hendrick has never been, if you go back to those early 2000s, right, what you would call the prime of Hendrick Motorsports, if you don't include maybe like the Waltrip or the Terry Labonte, stuff like that, but like prime Hendrick Motorsports, those guys did not race. Jimmy Johnson has one win in the Busch Series, and that was pre-Hendrick. Jeff Gordon does not race.
Nope.
Dale Jr., very few and far between race, but
there were multiple gaps where Hendrick didn't even run Xfinity cars.
Yeah. It is. I mean, for example, the last time I remember there being a Hendrick full-time driver was ding, 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 Kyle fucking Busch, because he started at Hendrick, right? So Hendrick has always used, more recently, Junior Motorsports and fielding a car here and there for up and coming guys. That's how they've always viewed those teams. Chase drove an Xfinity for Junior Motorsports. I think Willie B drove in the trucks. I don't know if he drove for Junior Motorsports or not. But they view those things differently. So like while you can look at the score across all of them. Yes, you could say that JGR is the most winningest across, but it's more so because Hendrick didn't care to compete in those things. They have a farm system. They treat those series as farm systems, and they fund individual teams to bring up their drivers. We'll give you funding if you put the drivers that we want to eventually have in Hendrick cars in your seat. We'll fund, you drive. It's like a split thing. Whereas JGR has almost always fielded 2 to 3, even 4 Xfinity Series rides. So naturally you're going to get wins. Ty Gibbs absolutely dominating. Hemrick was in that seat. We've seen Denny do a lot of Xfinity races over the years. Carl Edwards used to do a lot of Xfinity races. Hell, back in, not for JGR, but Harvick used to do a lot of double time. It's just a lot more common in the 2000s. Yeah. Some guys just fucking love racing. Kyle Busch and Harvick felt like they raced.
And that was kind of, and I think that point right there is kind of where I landed. Was like, when you get to the level that a Cup Series driver or a Cup Series team owner is at, they don't give a shit what they're driving. They want to win. They don't care what they're doing. Denny and Kyle Larson playing PGA in Denny's hauler. Denny's trying to win, right? Like it's just, they don't care, dude. And I think your point is interesting because maybe the correct answer to the debate that was going on earlier today was it's okay to look at it either way, because Hendrick really doesn't care. JGR clearly does. So maybe it's just differences in philosophy. Neither way being right, neither way being wrong.
The Hendrick Cup drivers historically have not cared about double time racing. Now, keep in mind, just to throw this out there,
more so now.
Kyle Busch forced a rule to get made that you can only race in 5 sanctioned events in the lower series a year. That used to not be a thing, right? So that's another thing too that's kind of changed the scope. So now what you see is guys that are they only race in like the Truck Series or the Xfinity Series if it's a road course, right?
To get some practice.
In, and that's why you see Larson out there driving for, I think it's a Spire truck. So that wouldn't be a Hendrick win, even though he's winning in the Spire, a HendrickCars.com Silverado. Truck. It's a Spire truck. But then also, like that the All-Star race and things like that. But other than that, it's not really something they care for. And I wouldn't say any of those teams now. I don't really see Bubba down there. I don't really see Denny down there. It's just not really a thing anymore. But during that brief time where all those wins could have been accumulated, it just felt like Kyle Busch was trying to get as much money and as much winnings and as much time in the seat as he could because he thoroughly loved it. Whereas Jimmy Johnson and those teams, they spent more time testing for Cup. And I don't think there's a wrong way or right way to do it. I would say my personal thing is The eyes are on Cup. I feel like everybody's going to view Xfinity as the up and comers. I have no issue with those guys going down. I think there's only one way to learn, and that is to get your ass kicked by Kyle Busch 5 times a year. You know.
So that's the other thing. When you brought up like Kyle Busch, that's the other thing for him is that, Kyle has been building a team,
Right.
and he's been trying to Kyle Busch has been building that foundation for years. It's not just like for him. It's been, yes, he's been competitive. Yes, he wants to win. Yes, he wants to be successful. But Kyle Busch has been doing what a lot of people try and emulate in sports and just try and emulate when it comes to success in general and build a large brand for himself to build that nest egg for the future. Because by the time that he's too old to go run the Cup cars, he's still going to be, for years to come, he's still going to run KBM. He's still going to run things. You look at what the Earnhardts did, for years when they were running teams and different things like that. To the initial argument in and of itself, like for one, I was working while this was going on. I was able to respond here and there. The overall consensus of the entire thing is a matter of different value. Is like different teams are going to take whatever opportunities they can to boast whatever positive numbers that they can. So Hendrick is, of course, they're going to boast 14 Cup Series championships. JGR is going to boast 10 overall series championships. They're going to boast having the most wins overall based on the focus that they take. Hendrick is going to take their, 290 some Cup wins. Like, if the question is, are more people watching, is the more seriously considered series out of all of NASCAR Cup Series? Absolutely.
Right.
The most average driver talent.
I want to throw
whatever.
That's where you aspire to, right? It's like, this is, but guys aren't like, this was one of the points Josh was making in the thing was that like, are guys like aspiring to spend their entire career in the Truck Series? Absolutely not. That's not the case. That's not what people are trying to do. You're trying to make your way up into the Cup car. That's where all the eyes are. That's where the bigger purses are. That's where you get your name out there. Your entire thing is trying to make your way up there. That's fine. But that's one discussion. Then there's another discussion about what a team is going to value or what a team is going to boast or what they're going to do. So, Finn, you brought up a great point with, for one, Hendrick has not always placed a focus on Xfinity. There were gaps where they didn't run anybody in Xfinity. There's times where they weren't running anybody in trucks, and they're mostly using that as scouting. And that's a perfectly reasonable point. Joe Gibbs has built a solid Xfinity name for himself, and it's a good thing to be on the JGR Xfinity team in the same way that it is on the Cup Series team.
His grandson won the championship in Xfinity last year.
Yeah, I mean, you consider like that. You consider Suarez came up through that system. Hemrick is a champion in a JGR car, if I'm not mistaken. They've had Eric Jones came up, Joey Logano came up. Like, these are all, I mean, JGR has always been able to find talent. Another thing I wanted to throw into this mix as a final point for me is that sponsorships, winning more in those series and things like that are going to foster more sponsorships. And that's something we've kind of seen with Hendrick. Doesn't really have this issue, especially now with sponsorships, right? Larson had everything that happened to him before he came over to Hendrick. But HendrickCars.com took him up as the sponsor, and now they're paying extra money so that they can be the primary sponsor for everything. Like, they're like, we want to be on Larson's car, we'll give more money. Like, Hendrick Cars wants, Larson doesn't have to pitch anything to them other than being himself. Ally loves Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman is the only fully sponsored driver at the moment. He is the only driver that has one primary sponsor for every race, and that's Alex Bowman. Liberty University, I mean, William Byron could do no wrong.
Yeah.
So like, Liberty loves him. Raptor likes him as well. I don't know how big of it is, but I just know like Liberty is Willie B's, like, they're like this.
Yeah. And Napa goes without saying.
Oh yeah, Chase Elliott's never gonna have to sell for sponsorship. They're gonna be begging him, and he just joined the Coca-Cola team of drivers as well this year. So landing a Hendrick car that's notoriously been Pepsi, right? Hendrick has notoriously been Pepsi with Jeff Gordon, so Hendrick being on Coke now is a big deal for them. And then there's got to be another driver, right? No, we covered them all. Pretty much they're all vying for sponsorship, whereas there was a whole debacle with Kyle Busch. Martin Truex Jr. is at the end of his career. While he's got sponsorship, he's on the way out. Denny, there was the if with FedEx, but we've noticed more that Denny is. It used to be Alex and Denny, but Denny's a hack, so he lost some of his sponsorship. So he's got less. Now we're seeing like sports clips or whatever on the car. And then pick what
Shingers.
religious cult wants to sponsor Ty Gibbs in between his monster deals. But I mean, obviously he's going to be fine no matter what. It's just different. I just feel like they don't have to be concerned about sponsorship, so they don't have to be worried about getting sponsors in victory lane nearly as much as some of the other teams. So I don't. I think it's a fun discussion to have, but at the end of the day,
Is JGR a mediocre race team?
Right now or historically?
Historically.
Historically, no. I mean, we're
There you
talking
go.
Tony Stewart, 2
I agree.
championships. Kyle Busch, 2 championships. That's 4. That's not. There's no easy task. I can't even think about. I mean, Bobby Labonte championship, maybe 2. Denny Ham.
Bro.
Did Kenseth
Jeff-
get a championship?
Jeff is just under fire today.
Kenseth
dude.
did not get a championship. Truex championship was not with them either. Truex championship was in front row. In fact, there's no active championships on Joe Gibbs Racing.
I'd like to make sure, just for the sake, based on that comment too. Like, there's 2 things. I'm not under fire. I don't give a shit.
He
Here's the
knows.
other thing, like being like, there was also a perception with the original argument that I was angry. I wasn't mad.
No,
I
I
was
never
working,
thought
dog.
that. I never thought that.
Like, well, I know, but I'm saying
Right.
I was working. I was trying to do some other things and
Yeah,
then
oh, yeah.
interjecting into this
and that's why
discussion,
I
it was.
took up the mantle for you, bro.
There was an you know, like my cousin was antagonizing, and that is what it is. You're gonna do what
Yeah.
you're gonna do. Have fun with
Hey.
that. That's
Yes,
So
sir.
it
that's
says-
cool. Good job. Like yes, you caught my attention, but I was also trying
Okay.
to get to work. There are a couple different discussions to have in regards to this as a matter of what is valued. Like, because the thing is there was a lot of right happening within that discussion. Like,
For sure.
like Josh and Jack are absolutely right in the sense that in the overall grand scheme, yes, the aspiration is to race in Cup, but that doesn't take away the significance from a race team valuing certain aspects, whether it's from lower series or anything like that. That just is
There's
what it is.
plenty of badassery that goes along with being a truck driver or an Xfinity driver. There's a whole lot of it. Those guys are not out there playing around, not in any way, shape, or form. They are trying to win every time their butt touches the seat, period.
Yeah. Otherwise, why get in the car?
Pretty much.
Yeah. And
Finn is deep in thought right now.
no, I was just kind of double checking my way, and yeah, it looks like there is 5 Cup championships for them, the Labonte, and then 2 for Tony, 2 for Kyle. Kyle won an Xfinity Series, and then Suarez, and then of course Daniel Hemrick, who actually got his first win on the final race of the year, passing Austin Cindric, and one of the most epic passes I've ever seen. Epic runs and a green-white checker for a championship. Got his first win and his championship in the same race. And then, of course, Ty Gibbs with his championship. And, yeah, the wins. I think, you have 197 Xfinity Series wins. I'd wager a good chunk of those are going to be Kyle Busch. So, whereas you have 26 race victories. So if that's enough to tell you that they don't care too much, or, again, that they're not technically under the Hendrick banner. So that's what I would throw at it.
Well,
But
there you go. They wanted to come on the podcast, and I said, no.
nah. Fight in the comments below with all the other
There's
nerds.
a derail factor.
With all the
there.
other
I mean,
nerds.
either way, I hope we represented the scenario
Yes.
properly. I mean, well, let's put it this way. Jack, I hope we represented it properly.
Yes.
Josh isn't going to listen to this, so it
No.
doesn't
Yeah,
really
Josh
matter.
quit listening 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, there's nothing quite as useless as a NASCAR argument with Josh.
The only way we
just
can get Josh to
screaming into the
listen is
void.
if we can bet that he wouldn't listen to the whole podcast.
That's true.
I'll say, Josh, I bet you won't listen to it right now. Keyword,
All right,
Josh,
yeah,
if
sure.
we made this bet and I'm going to tell you to text me a word, the word is banana. If I get a text from you that says banana,
There we go.
within
That's
3
how
days,
we'll know.
then we'll know.
The chances are 0.0 repeating percent.
Yeah.
So there.
So let's
So-
Leroy Jenkins ourselves to Nashville, baby.
Yeah, let's I got one. So yeah, we got some fast facts. We're going to Nashville. We're going to NBC. We're going to get a decent broadcast. I hope, getting a little bit of a change. I know it'll be just my luck, right? That I've been saying for a while that like I've been waiting for this because Fox has done just not great this year and in past years too, and that the change has been usually more positive once it's moved to NBC. Let's hope it continues to be that way as we go in. So as we move to Nashville and as we move to, 3 later in the day races in a row, as we got a 7 p.m. Nashville start. Chicago is going to start, I think, at like 4 or 5 o'clock. And then the next race after that, I believe, is going to be another 7 p.m. So we got a couple night races coming up. So Nashville Super Speedway, not to be confused with the Nashville Fairgrounds, as I was when I was looking up my information earlier, and almost just had a big old blotch of wrong right here in front of me that I was just going to throw out some word vomit on. Nashville facts, this track opened in 2001. It closed in 2011 and then reopened back in 2021. And I remember that was I wouldn't put it on par with the way people were reacting to like the way North Wilkesboro, came back this year. I think there's more prestige to what was coming from Wilkesboro, but at the same time, Nashville opening back up was a big deal. I think a lot of folks were really psyched to see this track come back. I mean, anytime that you add a track onto the season schedule that is in, you take somewhere in Tennessee, it's a good racing state. It's just generally gonna generate some fanfare. We have a concrete racing surface, 1.3 mile length, 14-degree banking, and a capacity of 38,000 people, which is kind of low when you consider some of the other tracks. But I'd imagine they're probably building some stuff up, and that number will probably increase as the years go on if things continue to be successful there in Nashville. I didn't have fastest lap. I mean, because most of the stuff that we're really going to see, there's just not as much history here as there has been in some of the previous stuff, considering 2021 was the year back. And then if you can go from the, 11 years that they were running in the early 2000s, I just really didn't have as much on that front. But regardless, I'm excited to see this race come back. I'm excited to, get back to it, see the NBC broadcast, change it up, get some new voices, just get kind of a fresh perspective on the season, especially after taking a nice little break. What do you guys think heading into Nashville?
I'm glad to be back on an oval.
Yep.
Because Sonoma was butt boring.
I think it's going to feel like longer Richmond or bigger Richmond, and I think that's going to be a good thing. I do hope that the package races well. I think that they're using the 1.5 mile package. So I'm very curious to see how that races after, again, a year of setups. Obviously, the Hendrick guys won the first 2 races here, so maybe that will translate to speed for Alex Bowman in his sponsor race. If there's a time to rig something, the Ally 400, please, oh God. Please, and stay as far away from a dirt track as you can, Alex. But no, again, not a lot of history, not a lot of much. I am going to probably sit down and watch this race start to finish from last year. I can't remember exactly how it went, how racy it felt, how things felt. So I'm curious to see if it'll improve. So I'm optimistic going into it. A week off of racing, a week off of and after all that moving, I'm ready to just sit my butt in a chair and watch some good racing. So if anything, we'll get some Ross Chastain drama, and I'll be happy with that.
So Chastain, interestingly enough, is one of the guys I have my eye on. We are 16 races into this season. We have 10 winners. There are 10 races left. There are 6 playoff spots left. And Ross Chastain is not locked into the playoffs.
It's been over a year.
Neither is Chase Elliott, Harvick, Keselowski, Buescher. The list goes on. It is crunch time. We have officially eclipsed the halfway point of the season. NBC is going to be all over this storyline, I'm sure, in the broadcast this weekend because they actually do a good job. And they're going to make sure that the first broadcast of the year really paints a picture, I think. But, man, it's going to be – I mean, Elliott won this race last year. Like you said, it's the Ally 400. It would be a fitting day for Bowman to get a win. Bowman's not locked into the playoffs. Briscoe's got his new crew chief. It's gonna be a show, man. These boys are gonna be out there sending it, I think, in this race. I really, really do. Because it's crunch time. It's time to go.
And in regards to, the folks that are needed now, when I say the seat is hot, I'm not speaking on it in the same sense when we're talking about like a coach in sports or anything like that. But in that same idea or in the same vein, as far as like the seat is heating up for certain drivers, in my opinion, like for right now, when you're looking at the list of the guys that are looking for a win and that are trying to get up there, the order is the 9, the 1. Those are the 2 that you're going to be watching the heaviest right now. But because those are people you're expecting to win at some point, and it ain't there yet.
Yo,
You know,
number
I'd
3
say
has
that
got to be
23
48.
is up there as well.
48 got to be up there, dude.
Sure.
I think 4. I think
a Hendrick car?
A Hendrick car for sure. I think the 48 and the 4 are right after that.
Yeah.
I'm in agreement with Jeff. The 9 and the 1. I mean, which says a
9
lot
and 1,
for
yeah.
it says a lot for the 1, because remember, this
Yes.
was a car that 2 years ago
Yeah.
was a Chip Ganassi bum ride, whatever, who cares, and now it gets absorbed into the Trackhouse stuff. So Chastain's done a hell of a job to be considered like we're expecting him to make the playoffs, considering this is his second or third full-time season.
Mhm.
Yeah. Next tier down from there probably has the 99 on it too.
Yeah,
I mean,
I would go
of
Harvick,
guys
Bowman, and Bubba's.
really needing a win.
Harvick, Bowman, and Bubba's next. These are guys that need to be getting wins, especially with the positions they're in. And then after that, the RFK guys, Suarez, and then I don't think we're gonna see a Legacy Motor Club sports car. I don't think we're gonna see it in the playoffs until they're Toyota.
Probably not.
They're god awful this year. So
Yep.
they'd have to seriously steal one.
10 and 14.
I mean, the 14ers guy, yeah, he's in that list with Bowman. I mean, we're expecting the 14. We're expecting the 14 to make the playoffs. I mean, we know the kind of caliber. The 10 though, yeah, dude. I mean, I'm glad he got his little glory win. Did you see what he did on Twitter? I know you guys aren't on Twitter much. Dude, Eric Almirola went back from when he got announced to do the road course race, and everybody was like, great, so he could finish 23rd. And he was just like, all of the comments he had saved, and he went in there and said, he was talking like, L comment for you, dude. And he goes, next guy's like, how about I win it? Yada, yada, yada. So he went back with the receipts to all of these people. I mean, seriously, I wonder if it's still up.
He must have a lot of time on his hands.
Dude,
that's what I'm wondering. I'm like,
Twitter receipts.
I want to see the degree of what we're talking about here, because there is a fine line between like having some fun with something like this happening and just kind of pressing a little heavy. You know what I mean?
Kevin Durant effect.
There's only so far you can really go before.
So he said, he couldn't win an Xfinity race if it was just him on the track. Smiley face emote. Wow, cool of him to go run 27th and continue being irrelevant. He said, for sure. Damn, last place incoming. Close. From running P20 to running to P25, he goes, how about P1? Oh, man, watch out. He's gunning for 20th. He said, or the dub. What does he even do? Win. He's still finishing 23rd. L comment. 24th place incoming. L for you.
Bro. Somebody's having some confidence issues over there in the 10 camp, I guess, because goodness gracious, Twitter troll answers are
Well, it's like, that's the other thing is like, is that him or is that like a social media rep? Like, because I know
that's Eric Almirola.
Denny's not sending his own tweets.
That's
like,
Eric
and we know
Almirola.
that from like the pod, and I'm sure there's plenty of others. I don't know. Like,
if it's your swan song season, like, yeah. We're done. He doesn't have to earn anything else. He's got it. He's got. They must get. Hey man, good job. You just got sponsorship for the rest of the season. Okay. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
it's like when I found out that I got my college scholarship and my and enough graduate, and I like did the math. And I was like, so I could fail the rest of my courses and have a 3.5 GPA and keep all my stuff. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, ha, see ya. And left.
Bye.
I didn't go back to class. I didn't go back to class. Did not go. I was like, good to go. So Eric Almirola's having his moment. How about this? We have to choose from this list, and I won't go first, so somebody else can have the 9. Who is going to win this week on this list? Jeff, you go first, buddy.
Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson's not on the list.
It's naturally, but that's my prediction. Kyle Larson's going to win this race.
He said, I just need a win. I just need some kind of win, so I'm going with Larson.
Nah, well, I mean, I got my prediction right a couple weeks ago, so
I feel that.
You did. You're the only one to ever get really that close, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, all right. So with this actual list itself, though, like aside from my actual prediction for it, if I'm gonna pick somebody that's specifically here, I think this may be the. I think this is the one. This is for the one. Okay. I think Chastain, it's there.
He was really quick at Richmond. He was really quick at
Yeah.
Dover. So
He's run decent at Martinsville in the past as well. When
so
you
some
take
of these
that,
shorter, mile-ish tracks, yeah, I could see that. What are you thinking, Corey?
Well, let's see here. Man, I'm torn between Harvick and Keselowski, but I'll go with my boy Harvick. Harvick needs a dub real bad. Like,
Yeah.
don't go out your last year not making the playoffs. You got 10 races left.
Yeah.
Right now, he's pointing in, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
But like, let's get that win. Let's lock it in, Kevin Harvick.
All right, cool. I'm going to go with Alex Bowman, man. It's the Ally 400. He's back. He's got a race or two to get back in the groove. And now it's time for him to figure it out. So I'm going to go with my man, Bowman. And hopefully we can lock this one in.
I mean, he's got as good a shot as anybody, man. And like, dude, I feel like my NASCAR fanhood has trickled into your NASCAR fanhood.
no,
and
man.
I showed up and Bowman just decided to totally take a nap.
Again, no sympathy. You wouldn't have sympathy for a Patriots fan right now because of what
That's
they're going
true.
through with Mac Jones, right? So
That is true.
don't worry, I'm good.
you're fine.
I am just enjoying the sport for what it is, and I'm glad that it's back on the upside. So I'm perfectly content. I love Alex Bowman as a human being. I think he's a great advocate for the sport. So it's good stuff. And he wins more than Ryan Blaney, so got that going for him.
Not this year, he doesn't.
Yeah, touche.
Not yet. Not this year.
So I think that's going to wrap us up this week. So everybody, please make sure you check us out on YouTube, Spotify, and iHeartRadio under the name Intentional Wreck. Please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about the pod. You can find us on Twitter at intwreckpod. That's at INTWRECKPOD. Find us, follow us, talk racing with us. And we'll see y'all after Nashville. And y'all have a good one. Enjoy the race.
Later.
Take what you want.